Hello, and welcome to the 15th episode of the Talos Principle. In this episode, we shall go through level 7 and collect everything there's to find there. I'd much rather be rich and unhappy than poor and unhappy. It's a very common thing in media where the people who are rich are always unhappy and dissatisfied, but quite honestly, it might be worth it just for that financial security. This is probably the first major hint that what's going on in the outside world is some sort of disease. It was a bit nebulous up to this point as far as I'm concerned. And another not so subtle allusion to the game itself. We've been finding a lot of those. I have found just one voice of reason in the computer archive of all places. It seems that we are becoming close friends. Looks like Milton has a buddy. Do not befriend the serpent, for it will penetrate your breast and sow its seeds of doubt. Big talk coming from the guy who killed himself in the night level. There is no hope. Always boxed in, walls everywhere. Even where there seems to be freedom, it is false. Invisible walls, no way out. Who invited this guy?
On the first night, when I knew it was over, I went out to look at the stars. And I thought, somewhere up there are the stations we built, and the probes we sent out. Voyager 1 and 2, beyond the edge of our solar system, continuing their long journey through interstellar space, like memories of our ambition, ambassadors who have outlived their homeland. And then I thought, if they still exist, are we really gone? If machines are an extension of the human body, then so long as they continue to function, we're still here.
Hey guys, our whole species is extinct. But these two mindless probes, hurtling through the vastness of space, guided only by the laws of physics, and probably never going to run into anything that isn't a micro-asteroid or a micro-meteor. Yeah, they're still around, so... Question. Suppose for the sake of argument, all of this is without purpose. The universe is a machine switched on and abandoned long ago. How would I explain what I see? Perhaps you are asking the wrong question? Perhaps you would have no hope of explaining it. Maybe not on my own, Depends if the machine is iterative, and what problem it was built to solve. If you're trying to outsmart the guy in the archive, the answer is none of the above. And dog comes over to defend his OS-based waifu.
How do you solve a problem that extends beyond your own lifespan? That question may be the essence of civilization. The only answer I can find is to initiate a process, to create an environment in which the solution will occur independently of yourself. But that requires a difficult sacrifice. Letting go of your desire to bear witness, to exist at the center of the cosmos. To participate in the project of civilization is to accept death. Oh, Alex, you're such a fun person.
No, not the only one with this sentiment. Immanuel Kant, or Kant, however you pronounce his name, seems to agree a little bit. The paradox of progress, where the people initiating it don't get to reap the benefits. I've already went over this in a previous episode, talking about the cruel irony that some of the most famous scientists of all time who founded their entire fields never get to see the absolutely incredible uses that exist for those fields. There is one more of these messages, and it is way over here. Quite a beautiful place, in my opinion. Certainly a majestic view of the Great Pyramid. No way out, no way out, no way out, no way out. Wasn't that worth running all the way over here for? Don't you feel a little bit enlightened? Let's go through one of these puzzles. So what am I going to talk about? Well, in the last episode I discussed how one of the reasons religion is still around and still so popular with people is simply because people don't want to die. And that's a very fair thing. I mean, the entire field of medicine is really... The entire field of medicine is I don't want to die, fix me up so that I won't die. But does the afterlife that various religions offer, is that really any good? I'll start with the Hindu concept of reincarnation, which, though it might sound appealing to its believers, has quite a few rather disturbing implications, shall we say. The idea that when you live your life, you accumulate some sort of karma. How good or awful you are in life will be the basis of how much of this karma you get. If you're very good in life, then you get to be reincarnated as a little bit better than what you were before. And you get a new opportunity to try and test your morality. I seem to have made a mistake here. No matter, it's a quick fix. Meanwhile, if you do very poorly in life, you're a real asshole, then you'll get a bunch of negative karma and you'll be reincarnated as something rather undesirable. That is the basic gist of it, though there's a bit more nuance in how I've presented it. The problem with this is that it's a system that lacks real justice. When someone is convicted of a crime, it's expected that they understand the crime that they've convicted. They go on to trial and are able to defend themselves against the accusation of the crime that they supposedly committed. Now, in Hinduism, as far as I can tell, there's no clear-cut certainty of what you've done in the past life. You aren't born with a list of all the sins or good deeds you've done in life, and you get to base everything off of that. Instead, it's a completely blank slate. Now, the problem is, people in life get punished for seemingly no reason. The eternal question, why do bad things happen to good people? Well, they were either incredibly horrible people in life, which, you know, fair enough, or perhaps they just were such awful people in life that they've accumulated a lot of this, I just blew my load too early there. Or they've just done so many bad things over the course of many lives that they've just accumulated a lot of bad karma. However, as said before, they don't know this. There's no indicator of, oh, you were an absolutely horrible person, you pretty much deserve this. I'm gonna see if I can actually just straighten out through here. You should be able to connect this with one of the things up there. Alright, I had to leave and come back as stuff happened. And unfortunately, of course, when you reset behind a sigil, or on that sigil you've collected, it's already collected. And of course, if I go back before it to the previous sigil, then I'll have to talk to the damn terminal again. I'll have to collect everything out here again. This gate opens when you complete the sigil puzzle, and I'll just show you how to do it. Because I really don't feel like going back and doing everything all over again. Really now. So what am I going to talk about today? Last episode I mentioned how one of the reasons religion is still so popular in society is quite simply it offers an afterlife. Nobody wants to die. We've come up with an entire, rather lucrative, well-paying field, an occupation, anything within medicine that is basically, I don't want to die, make me so I don't die. Even among materialistic, naturalistic, scientific circles, whatever you want to call it, people aren't interested in dying. They very much want to live instead. So, what are the afterlives? The hereafters that these religions offer, are they really all that they're cracked up to be? Are they really that good, that much worth believing? I'll start with the Hindu concept of reincarnation. For those of you who don't know, as just the general gist of it all, reincarnation is based on you live your life, how well you live your life or how poorly you live your life affects what you're reincarnated as. So if you've been going around stabbing random people and you collect the sigil here, which isn't part of reincarnation, that's just you collect the sigil here. But if you live your life poorly, you'll be reincarnated as something worse off than what you lived as before you died and reincarnated. So if you're literally Hitler, you might be reincarnated as a cockroach. Not very fun. Meanwhile, if you do very good in life, you'll be reincarnated as something a bit more lucrative, a bit more appealing. So if you cure cancer, you might be reincarnated as, I don't know, superhuman. I'm going to solve the star before I solve the actual puzzle. The problem with this is that it's simply not actual justice, and seems to be set up as a form of justice. You do bad, bad things happen. You do good, you get rewarded. People don't like the idea that bad people can get off completely free, so it's appealing that there be a system to punish them. The problem is, when we're born, as far as we're concerned, we're a blank slate. Now, I'm aware of the fact that humans aren't actually blank slates when they're born, and they have a bunch of psychological and mental baggage from basically evolution, but we aren't born with a list of all the good and bad things we've done in life. So think about, I'll read that later, think about all the great tragedies in the 20th century. The Armenian genocide, the Holocaust, the rape of Nanking. All those people who died and suffered in them, what crimes have they committed in their past lives that warrants such cruelty? Is this the wrong place? Now, it could be some very big things. Maybe they were dictators themselves and oppressed masses of people. Or perhaps they've done so many small things in their previous life that just added up. Rob a billion convenience stores and just rob a billion convenience stores, and eventually it all just comes together. Man, I hate that part. But of course, they don't know what they've done in life or in the past life to deserve it, so the problem still remains. I hate those things so damn much. Have I mentioned that? At least with 2 jammers, you're able to get anywhere. You don't know what crime you've committed. Is it really fair for you to be convicted of it? One of the modern concepts of justice is the right to a trial. where you're able to defend yourself against the accusation that you've committed a crime, and the people accusing you have to present their evidence. But if you don't know what crime you've committed, then how exactly can you defend yourself? And the problem is, it means that people who do awful things still get away with it in life. Stalin, Chairman Mao, Pol Pot, what punishment are they getting? Realistically. I mean, they may be reincarnated as a grasshopper in the next life, but, well, they'll just go and do grasshopper things then. No matter to them. It's not like they'll see justice in life, nor any of their victims will see justice in life. In fact, supposedly, they've done awful things in the past to warrant them getting so brutalized. Now, there's more reasons to be against the concept of reincarnation, and of course there's the overwhelming fact that there's really no evidence for it to begin with. But that isn't an angle of argument I see very often when people bring it up. Just how skewed of a version of justice it is. Codename Samsara terminated here. Logic. Program elected to reset. Final memory dump. It is clear I cannot bend the world to my will. Faced with eternal torment, I see that overcoming these challenges will not free me from them. True freedom must come with detachment from the struggle for answers. And he made another little samsara. Isn't that cute? Now, the more Western concept of heaven and hell in the Abrahamic faiths handle justice a little bit better. In the very least, there's a belief that you'll be judged before St. Peter, according to the Christians at least, where he'll go over all of your sins, and that's why you're sentenced to the place below. But there's still quite a few problems with it even then. The big argument against hell is an eternal punishment for a finite crime. This is just gonna... That's something that probably doesn't exist in our own court of law simply because we're unable to achieve it. But it still isn't exactly right by any means. Now, heaven is eternal reward for finite accomplishments, which are a little bit better than being punished until the end of time for things. I mean, I'd rather get eternal reward for finite accomplishments and eternal punishment for finite crimes, sure. But the eternal reward actually kind of sucks. You're going to be around in heaven just worshipping Elohim until the end of time. You know all the fun you've had waking up early in the morning and going to church and sitting through while some wanker who has even less of an idea of what's going on in the universe than you do rambles on and on about sin and redemption? Well, have that times infinity. Look at what I'm doing right here. Taking this box completely out of the level. Just mad disrespect to Elohim. Fuck you, God. my line of thought and say I do think this is probably the best level they could have ended the Egypt stages on. I mean, not only do you have a nice high-up view of the level, yet to have this absolutely majestic view, this incredible structure that in the real world was amazingly built by human hands. Not without the failures along the way, though. What if you can go to it? Nope. But there are two messages here. Another huge pyramid. What mad ambition it must have taken to build such things. It's just a big pile of rocks. Hey, fuck you, dog. Now, one very good argument against the whole idea of heaven and whether or not it really is a heaven was raised by Matt Dillahunty, where he pointed out that his mother is a believer, but he himself is an atheist. So, by the rules of God, she'll go to heaven and he'll burn in hell for all eternity. The problem arises with how can it be heaven if she's aware that her son is being tortured for all time? Despite the theological differences, she still does love him. He's still her son. Now, there's a few possible ways it could be solved. One of them is that she would just have the entire memory of her son's existence erased. Why would you worry about the torment of someone you don't even know exists in the first place? However, to erase such a big part of her life and I'd say her personality, that would completely change who's actually up in heaven. How many things would bring you down in life that were so integral to your existence, were major story arcs in the novel of your existence that, if erased, would change everything? Perhaps you went through a divorce. Perhaps you've struggled through a debilitating sickness. Bad thoughts, simply because we remember them, are always gonna be there. And those bad thoughts and the times we struggle through them are a big part of our lives. Now, I agree they shouldn't be. We should strive to make the world as great it can be so people don't have to suffer through debilitating diseases or don't have to suffer through losing loved ones or going through divorces or whatever. But for the people who had to suffer through them, it's still a big part. I'm reminded a small bit about something that actually happens in Disney World, where if a child drops her ice cream cone and the kid starts crying, the staff is actually obligated to go and get that kid an ice cream cone for free, because it wants to keep up the illusion of a paradise of worry-free happiness, Hakuna Matata. But how do you do that with just memories, especially ones of loved ones getting tormented? How do you make them happy when they suffer under these thoughts? Do you just force them to be happy? After all, God had zero issue hardening the Pharaoh's heart to make him even more stubborn and even less likely to free the Jews from their slavery. So it's quite clear God has no issue bending free will a little bit for the sake of getting the reactions he wants. But would that be truly heaven to you? Every waking second taking your God-prescribed soma pills? It certainly would be a brave new world, but not necessarily a good one. I've rambled on and on about this. I just want you to think over this for a moment. Like a lot of religions, they imagine their paradises as simply a little bit better than what they had in life. But now we have so much more in life than what the people who came up with these religions have. They didn't have movies, they didn't have video games, they didn't have rock and roll, and I like all three of those things. So if I'm going to this place in the sky, if I suddenly start believing and following all these archaic rules, I'm still gonna be separated from things that make me happy. Instead, I'll just be forced to worship Elohim until the end of time. And if I don't like that, then what? Will my mind be bent beyond all recognition to where I desire nothing but to worship a god? In which case, why even start with the whole experiment of mortal life to begin with? It's quite clear he wants just mindless automatons worshipping him, but he wants the illusion that they'll do it under their own free will. It's not exactly a free will if it's do this or torment until the end of time. That's a pretty piss-poor dichotomy. It's free will by the most strenuous of technicalities. Let's see what Milton has to say. I guess nothing. I'm sure he'll be talking a lot about what I've mentioned in the next episode. But that completes this one.
The land of tombs is yours now. And let this be a lesson that only through faith may death be conquered.
It seems Elohim has taken his position on the matter, but I'd rather put my stock into some medical or scientific advancement. But though he says we've conquered it all, there are still 2 gates we're left to persevere through, and that's something we will have to do in some upcoming episode. But for everything else, we've done pretty well for ourselves. So that wraps up the episode. I hope I gave you something to think about, and you enjoyed the episode altogether. I'm sorry about the whole, one of the sigils has already been collected. If this game had a better reset system, I'd be much more willing to do it. On the bright side though, since we didn't talk to a terminal at the end of this level, we can actually maybe do better resets in the next episode if it ever needs to come. But that's for another day. Thanks for watching.